Welcome to the Andy Staples Show, presented by Sling. Joined now by Max Olson, the Portal Authority. Welcome back, Max.
What's up, Andy?
I'm very excited to have you here, mostly because
Ari's on vacation. I see right through all of this. I know what's going on here.
Listen, Ari's on vacation.
I'm like the guy on the side that gets the call when the boyfriend's out of town here.
You're the side piece.
That's the side piece.
As Nicole said last week on the show, you guys make this awfully sexual.
It's true. There's a lot of chemistry there. It's undeniable. But I knew when I saw Ari was on vacation out in Tahoe, I was like, I bet Andy's going to call me this week.
Well, Ari said, "Hey, I'm in for every show."
Of course.
And I was like, yeah, sure you are. I believe that is, I believe you about as far as I can throw you. So.
Hey, traveling with a baby, man, different deal. He and I are learning it.
Exactly. But here, you get the experience of now you get to sit through my glorious ad reads, because remember, we are the Andy Staples Show presented by Sling, which means it's college football season, which means you need the unbeatable coverage of Sling TV starting at $35 a month. Sling has all the big games on all the biggest channels like ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN3, SEC Network, ACC Network, Fox, and the Big Ten Network, and the Pac-12 Network. They also have the Pac-12 Network because I've been watching it on my Sling service, all for the best price. You can stream to any device, record up to 50 hours, including DVR space, and pause or change your service at any time. Check out sling.com for special offers. Sling, the live TV you love at the price you'll love. Try it today. And that's how we do it on the Andy Staples Show, presented by Sling. But yeah, so I have been watching a little Pac-12 Network. I got to watch the Cal Stanford Band is on the field game. It was pretty awesome.
Nice. Yeah, we don't get that channel in my neck of the woods, but I don't have Sling, so maybe that would fix it.
If you got Sling, you could get it in Lincoln, Nebraska, because it's a web-based service, and also the Longhorn Network for as long as it will exist. They're moving to the SEC. They'll be part of the SEC network soon, but we got to talk transfers, Max, because I guess probably that Pac-12 network conversation, we could watch some Emory Jones at Arizona State.
Oh, buddy, you go on down the list there. I mean,
some Caleb Williams, some Cam Ward,
maybe little Jacob Cowing, some Jaden DeLora.
Wow, Jaden DeLora.
Little Bo Nix late at night.
Of a transfer coming, and then is back in the same league. And yes, Bo Nix as well. Good Lord. Okay. I had not thought about it this way, but I'm glad we're on to this discussion. What percentage of the Pac-12 is a transfer quarterback starting for them this year?
Yeah, I went through this a couple weeks ago. I did this piece kind of once the portal cycle came to the end, of looking at how many, just sort of breaking down all the numbers behind this past 12 months of transfers. And one thing I found was, I think that there's going to be, probably 20, 25, 30 Power 5 starters that transferred this offseason, and then probably another 25 at the Group of 5 level. Like, just the sheer impact of the movement in this QB cycle, it's going to be pretty crazy in terms of just affecting the season and the conference races.
Well, I take people behind the curtain of our text messages. Austin Reed, the quarterback from West Florida, I wrote about him when he was leaving West Florida because he's one of the best QBs in Division II. Wanted to see if he could catch on in an FBS program. Looks like he's going to be the starter at Western Kentucky. That's
right. They were able, to build on the success of bringing in Bailey Zappi from Houston Baptist. The coaching staff there went with Jarrett Dagey from West Virginia and Austin Reed from West Florida to be the starting quarterback of Western Kentucky. And
Jarrett Dagey being at Bowling Green before that was the only thing that messes that up.
But we're in this mode now, Andy. We're in camp, and you know what that means. It's loser leaves town matches for these quarterback battles.
Okay, but I have a question. And am I stupid for wondering why these guys are leaving in the middle of camp when they can't go play for somebody else this season? So why leave now? Why not just wait till the end of the season and leave?
Yeah, I think if you're a grad transfer, maybe you've convinced yourself you can get a waiver and go play somewhere right away at a G5 or an FCS or whatever. I guess that's kind of the thing you're keeping in your back pocket when you're going through one of these competitions. But you're right, for a younger player right now, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to bail right now. Now, obviously, some schools are on quarters and stuff like that. There's some of those issues that you can try and take advantage of. But it's interesting. It does kind of shine a light on, like, do you think that I'm not so sure, Andy, like, do you think transfer windows will officially fix that? Or do you think we'll still just see guys leave and then they're just sort of out there and then they pop up in December?
I think it'll fix the spur of the moment, I'm mad right now transfer.
Hopefully.
It's like the Homer Simpson when he goes to buy a gun and they tell him there's the 3-day waiting period and he goes, "Oh, but I'm mad now." Like that's the thing. Like,
I've heard that story from coaches. I'm sure you have too, this offseason of one head coach at a Big 12 school told me there was a guy who I think they kicked out of practice or he left practice. He was pissed off. He goes to the locker room and before he even got his pads off, he said, "I put me in the portal." I mean, that's just kind of how. I'm not saying all kids are like that, but you are going to deal with some of those cases of guys, whether they're freshmen having issues, as all freshmen do, or just guys that aren't happy with their situation. You're going to have some of that kind of spur of the moment thinking for sure.
But let's just, I mean, I'm saying this as an old person and forgive me, but let's just think this through, guys. Like, if you can't play anywhere else this season, especially let's say you're a quarterback, it is a violent game. Mm-hmm. The person who just won the starting job over you may get hurt. I'm not saying you should wish injury. I'm just saying if you're playing the percentages, there's a chance that they might need you. And then you might be that person.
Right. Your best path to playing time is staying where you are for the season and doing something in December. Now, I guess I do wonder, because we saw another resolution in that this week with Miles Brennan deciding to walk away from football. And that's obviously kind of a complicated story. But I did wonder if he would be a guy that would make this move in August and go to a G5 or an FCS school and try to start this year. Obviously, this isn't just fantasy football. You have to actually go and learn an offense, and it's harder than it sounds. But I do wonder if we'll see a guy or two this month leave a school and be starting somewhere this fall.
That would be really interesting. And that, of course, will just encourage people to do this more. So, again, I don't think that's necessarily – because it would not endear me to that person if I'm a coach looking for guys out of the portal. It would not endear me to that person to know that they were like, "Well, I didn't win the job, I'm out." Like,
if I were a player, it would not endear me to my coach if I've spent 8 months trying to win this job and some new guy shows up in the middle of August either.
That's true. I understand that too. But again, if you can't play again this season somewhere else, just play. You're going to lose the year of eligibility anyway. I mean, or if you think you're that good, you don't need the extra year. So just play and figure it out. That's the thing. Now, if you did play as a freshman and a sophomore, you want to preserve your red shirt, that part I get. But if you've already redshirted, there's no reason, just play. Like,
I mean, chances are, and there's just things that happen in October that we can't anticipate in August, like Caleb Williams, for example, right? Like things happen. Things just happen, and you could maybe you think right now you're not going to play this year, and you're mad, and you think you should be somewhere else, but you just really don't know how it's going to be a month or 2 months from now.
Yeah, and that's the part I wonder about. Like the Miles Brennan thing makes plenty of sense. We talked about it yesterday with Brody Miller. He's in his 6th year. Like he committed to Les Miles. He's an old person at this point. He's getting married. He's ready to start his life.
Dude backed up Danny Etling, man.
That is amazing, right?
He played for Matt Canada. I mean, the guy's been through it.
That is crazy when you think about it. But yeah, so I mean, that's a different situation than somebody who's been there a little bit and then okay, I'm out. Because you saw the situation last year where at USF, Timmy McClain out as soon as Gary Bohannon gets in. Now McClain did not redshirt as a freshman, so he can take a redshirt year this year. Yeah. So that works out eligibility wise for him. But how about Dave Aranda helping out the USF program by not being that coach who drags it out?
No, you're totally right. And, I think that's the Miles Brennan example. And I know like he's going to be just fine. I know he's made NIL money. Like I'm sure he's maximized what he could do there. But the Miles Brennan example is kind of one of those rare ones that shows you like this is kind of a hard thing to navigate too, because Miles Brennan was in a situation during this offseason where he was in the portal and he was, thinking about taking visits or whatever. And I'm sure I know Nebraska was interested there. I'm sure there are a bunch of schools interested in him, and we all know who ended up taking transfer quarterbacks. So I'm sure he heard from those schools, but he believed staying put gave him the best chance. And then LSU went and took somebody else. So it's like, it can be hard to know what is the best move because, if you stay at LSU, there's no guarantees you win the job. And if you go somewhere else, same problem.
Yeah, it is. It's just there are no right answers to this. There's really no guidebook because all this is so new.
Yeah.
And I do think we're going to see, because like Ole Miss is a good example of a program that is trying to kind of reshape itself through the portal. And I think that's probably going to be an annual thing because they're not going to be able to get the level of recruit that, say, Alabama or LSU gets every year. So their best bet is to keep getting old guys who might be able to keep up with some of those young guys.
And I think that you saw like the way that this blew up for them this summer, like lean into the thing that's got momentum, the thing that's popular. I mean, I think that if kids see Ole Miss and Oxford is becoming the place to be for transfers, and if you can do a good job this year of putting a bunch of them on the field and having them be productive, then it gives you an advantage over everybody else that kids want to go there. And you're probably going to hear about kids before they even enter the portal, right? Like, I think if you can get that advantage that people are contacting you and saying, hey, I think this kid wants to come to you, you're going to have a leg up on everybody in the portal. So, yeah, I think they're going to have to I'm sure that if they can be successful, yeah, you want to recruit the way that Georgia and Alabama, everybody else does. But I think right now you got an advantage and you got to embrace it.
Yeah. Yeah. You have a brand at this point.
Yeah.
Let's talk about some of these transfers that we're excited to see. The Miles Brennan thing means it's Jaden Daniels or Garrett Nussmeier for that LSU job. We don't know who's going to win it. Brody seems to, and Brody was leaning this way even before Miles Brennan left, that he thought maybe Jaden Daniels gets a look because he's a better runner and because LSU's offensive line may not be exactly perfect the way they want it yet. I still think Nussmeier's got a pretty good shot to win the job ultimately.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And I think that's a kid that people shouldn't sleep on. He had a unique situation last year where I believe that they wanted to maintain the 4-game red shirt on him.
Right. And
so you had to be kind of careful in how much he could play and how much you could really, give him opportunities. But that's a really talented player who, it's a new staff and a new OC and all that. And so it's a wide open deal there. But everything I've heard is that he's got a lot of it factor and that he's really impressed this staff so far this offseason. So interested to see, obviously, when you make that transfer move, not to say you promise the kid the job, but that you kind of have those intentions sometimes when you go to the portal. So I think we're going to see a few of these situations, Andy. And you already mentioned Ole Miss, where you bring in the guy to try to, upgrade your QB room, but you may find that the guy that's already in your room steps up to the competition and plays better and wins the job still.
Yeah. Yeah. Luke Altmeier filled in for Matt Corral in the Sugar Bowl. That's really what we've seen of him so far. But who knows with an offseason throwing with the receivers and actually competing for the job against Jackson Dart, who transferred from USC. We don't know. I think everybody assumes that the guy who is new is always going to win the job. And I just don't think that's always the case. Now, there are some places where the new guy is going to win the job. We talk about Cam Ward at Washington State. You and I, you have been adamant to me that they're going to be the most fun team to watch. That offense, which is the offense he's been playing in for the last 2 years. I can't wait to see it. Caleb Williams, obviously excited to see him in Lincoln Riley's offense again because he did really exciting things. I'm curious about Bo Nix. Like, Bo Nix, much maligned at Auburn, now in a place where he doesn't have the weight of being Patrick Nix's son, doesn't have the weight of being the guy who they chose over Malik Willis, which happened at Auburn. Like, he's not that. Now he's that guy who's just coming in trying to help out.
Still got to win the job, though. That's another one. You got to, does Ty that Thompson bring out the best in Ty Thompson, Jay Butterfield? I think that's an interesting situation there. But I don't know. I think that Bo Nix is one of these guys, and there's a few of them where you say, yeah, you take them out of that situation, put them in a brand new one around a different supporting cast. I think it's probably, I don't know. With the way the transition Oregon's going through, like, would you say Oregon's a much better supporting cast or slightly similar? What do you think?
Than Auburn?
Yeah.
It's a better supporting cast with an easier schedule, with the exception of you both have to play Georgia.
Got to play Georgia. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that, that experience, I'm sure, helps him in terms of being the guy for that Georgia game. But you still got to play well and hold on to this thing, because I think Oregon does have some talent in that QB room. But that's one of those staffs that has, in part by necessity, hit the portal pretty hard this offseason. And I'm excited to see which of those pieces hit for Oregon. There's been a lot of hype lately on Christian Gonzalez, the cornerback from Colorado that they took. Who
and they
needed, Brugler is hyped as
some
potential first rounder. Yeah.
Yeah. They needed experience at that position badly. Yep. And now he had played for their DBs coach at Colorado. So that he comes in understanding, both of them kind of speak the same language. But yeah, he was one that you heard in spring practice, like, okay, this guy is really good. And that's a position of need for them. So that could be a big one. The guy I might be most excited to see, and this is one we've mentioned a few times, but our guy Aaron Suttles, who covers Alabama for us, he's written up some stuff he's heard out of camp.
Yeah,
Jahmyr Gibbs in Alabama's offense might be even better than we thought.
Yeah, it sounds like he's Barry Sanders now, I guess.
with a little Marshall Faulk mixed in.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. And that's an interesting. So right now, Bruce Feldman and I are working on that ranking of the top 100 transfers that'll make the biggest impact this fall. And I would be interested for listener input for sure. Tweet at me if you got people you feel like need to be on that list. And it's a tough list to build when there's 2,000 kids that hit the portal in a year. It's kind of an interesting debate. Like, I know that it's easy to kind of put Caleb Williams automatically number one on these kinds of lists, but could you make the case for Jahmyr Gibbs or Jordan Addison being the most impactful guy?
I think you could, especially for Gibbs, because he could potentially, if he is a Najee type back, which there were flashes of that at Georgia Tech. You just kind of wonder, like, with the supporting cast around him, did we actually get to see what he can do? And I'm not sure we did. We definitely saw there's talent there. So now you put him in Alabama with loads of talent around him. I think we're probably going to see something pretty special. There's another player that I'm excited to see too, because it feels like this program is doing something that we haven't seen in their league in a while. And that is Baylor, with great success with Apu Ika, the LSU transfer, who's been there since Dave Aranda got there. They get Jackson Player out of Tulsa. Like, interior defensive line play in the Big 12 is not something we usually talk about, but it is getting better and better.
It is. And Baylor, that's one of the reasons why I had someone ask me today, like, why is Baylor getting talked about as a preseason top 10 team? And that's one of the reasons with the big men at Baylor, the offensive line and defensive line, what they're bringing back, really terrific. And you saw that in tough physical games last year. Jackson Player's a pretty cool story. This is a guy that was undersized in high school out of Waco. And the coaching staff at Tulsa really believed in him. That's one of those players that when they hit, you look like a genius. But when they get there and you first see how small they are, they're like, ugh, this might not go well for us, because it's just hard to take such a risk on really undersized defensive linemen. But he came in and was a stud throughout his time at Tulsa, and just everyone that's worked with him, seen him play, nothing but good things to say about him. And he decided to come home. A lot of really good offers, but he decided to be at Baylor. And yeah, they've already got Apu Ika, but I think Jackson Player is one of those guys that when you watch Baylor, you need to watch closely what they're doing up front, offensive and defensive line, because they've got some real players. And they've got, I think the pass rush at Baylor gives them a chance to really be a Big 12 title contender and CFP dark horse team again, because they're really strong up front. Jackson Player, undersized dude, but he's a force.
Yeah. Not undersized when he's under you. Low man
Correct.
wins.
Low man wins
right there. So,
yep.
Max, when we come back,
wait, that reminds me. Did you ever actually finish that bracket of sayings? Did anyone ever win that?
No. That's content for March, baby.
You did like one round of voting on that. Did you do more?
No, we're very late. We don't finish the job in this podcast. That's the problem.
It's on to the next idea. We can't just spend a
yeah.
month on something we like here.
Georgia would throw us off the team for not finishing the drill.
Old Man Wins had potential to make a big run there.
I think it did. I think it did. Max, we got to take a small pause, but when we come back, I want to talk about another player in the Big 12, a transfer, who I can't wait to see because I feel like it's his chance for vindication. We'll be right back. It's college football season, which means you need Sling TV, where you can watch unbeatable college football coverage starting at just $35 a month. Get everything you love about college football, like rivalries, marching bands, conference power rankings, bowl games, you name it, all of it with Sling. Plus, Sling has all the big games on the biggest channels like ESPN, ESPN2, ESPN3, SEC Network, ACC Network, Big Ten Network, and Fox, all for the best price. And the best part is getting Sling is easy. It's easy to set up and even easier to use. You can stream on any device, record up to 50 hours with your included DVR space, and you don't get locked into a long-term contract. So if you're looking for the perfect place to spend your Saturdays, you need to take a look at Sling, where you can get everything you love about college football for the best price. Check out sling.com for special offers. Sling, the live TV you love at a price you'll love. Try it today. If you listen to the show for a while, you know that Ari and I get pretty competitive when it comes to picking games during the season. Well, now you can join the competition. We've teamed up with Run Your Pool to host a pool for our show and our listeners, and it's an opportunity to compete with us. So you'll get to compete with me, with Ari, with Nicole Auerbach, with Sam Kahn, our techspert, with Max Olson, and you can decide who's better at picking games against the spread. I know what you're thinking, Andy, you're not very good at this. Well, guess what? I have been working on it. I have been studying. I'm gonna improve. So you're gonna have to work pretty hard to take me in our Run Your Pool pool. The way to do it, you go to play.runyourpool.com/staples and sign up. While you're at it, you can start a few more pools for yourself and your friends. Run Your Pool isn't just college football. It's NFL, it's MLB, it's NBA, it's every sport you can imagine. And you can create pools that you and your friends can compete in, can talk trash in, and listen, winner take all, and winner gets the bragging rights. And on our show, if you win, not only are there some prizes, there's some Fanatics gift cards to be won, but Ari has promised the winner a segment on the show. I don't even know if I've approved this, but it's going to happen. So Run Your Pool is the place to be for competition during this football season. You want to compete with us? Play.runyourpool.com/staples. That's play.runyourpool.com/staples. Join up and let's go. I don't know how much faith I have in my ability to beat all of the listeners, but
what did you just commit me to?
You're going to join our Run Your Pool pool.
Okay,
you're going to pick games against the spread with us.
We've talked about this before, for sure. Sounds good.
Oh yeah, it's sort of like when Ari on the show goes, "If you win, we'll just give you your own segment." I'm like, "We will?
We'll do it live." That's right.
Okay, all right, we will. All right,
that sounds good.
We were talking transfer players in the Big 12. There is one guy that
This is a great tease by you because you left me during the whole break wondering which guy you were talking about.
Well, okay.
It could be many.
I feel like he has a chance to prove a lot of people wrong, to vindicate what has happened over the past 4 years. And I think it's interesting because he and his old program are kind of running on parallel tracks, and we'll see. Both can have good years, both can have bad years, or one can have good and one can have bad. But Adrian Martinez at Kansas State, he's got a dynamic playmaker in Deuce Vaughn next to him. We know they know how to develop offensive linemen there. On the other side of the ball, they've got probably the best edge rusher not named Will Anderson in Felix Anudike-Uzomah. They got dudes at Kansas State, and Kansas State could be a really good team in the Big 12 this year.
Yeah, I think if you go down the list of Big 12 teams, and there's obviously 3 that are pretty high up in the preseason AP poll. You go down the list of like who are you buying as the dark horse? I think it's K-State without question. You can make case for a few others, but I think K-State's got the pieces. And I think the change to Colin Klein as OC is going to make a big impact and is not getting talked about enough. I think that's a pretty exciting team there, and it really all comes down to Adrian Martinez and kind of can he be the X factor for that team? And yeah, you said, and it's similar to Bo Nix, right? It's like it's one of those where you put him in a very different situation, and you're going to find out a lot. I think Adrian Martinez is a guy that is, has been one of the most productive players in the country over his 4 years when he's been healthy, when he's been right. One of the best dual threat quarterbacks out there, just in terms of production, just purely production. Now he's also turned it over 48 times in his career. And so there's, you take the good with the bad with him. And I thought that this was the right move for him to make a change. And there was a lot of interest from schools in the Big Ten in Adrian Martinez, which is interesting. It tells you the respect level of playing against him. They know what kind of playmaker he can be if you put him in a better situation. And I know I'm working on a story on Adrian Martinez right now that we'll have out soon, but I think he's made the right choice in terms of where he's at. And so he's healthy now. He dealt with a bunch of injuries last year, but this is a player that I think if you ask him to run less, and he, led Nebraska in carries a few times in his career, if you can lean on Deuce Vaughn and, ask him to be a guy that, I know he wants to showcase a little more what kind of NFL player he can be. And so how they adjust to his strengths and hide some of his weaknesses will be interesting to see. But yeah, I think Adrian Martinez is a guy that can really, if he puts it all together and plays consistently, and that's been the elusive thing for him. But if he can be consistent for 12 games, K-State's going to be a major factor here in the Big 12 race and, have a big year. Are
he and Bo the two guys who can reshape their story the most? JT Daniels at West Virginia, maybe I would think he falls into that category too. But
yeah,
I
definitely.
When you get into a starting spot at a big school as a freshman, the assumption is you are amazing. And sometimes you're the starting quarterback as a freshman because you're the best guy they have. And maybe you're still not ready for it. And I think that's probably what has happened with some of these guys.
I think another one would be Michael Pennex, right? Just a healthy Michael Pennex for 12 games would be a guy that really gets to kind of change the way people see him for sure. I think that I think it's a fascinating and honestly, you mentioned it, but like with the Nebraska situation, they kind of, it's the same thing there. It's like Adrian Martinez has gone to a new situation where everything's new around him, and we're going to really find out about him. And Nebraska has changed a lot of things around Scott Frost. And so we're going to really find out about Scott Frost this year. And not to oversimplify, but, was it as simple as they needed to change in QB, or is it they need to change in head coach? I think that's the thing we're going to kind of find out this fall to some extent. And that's not, I'm sure that there are some Husker fans that are rooting for Adrian Martinez to do well, and some that are probably happy he's gone. But it's a fascinating dynamic. And, you're right. JT Daniels is another one that we've seen flashes, but what can that guy be for 12 games?
Yeah. Yeah. Cause he gets the job his freshman year. He's a pretty good quarterback. It looks like he's going to be pretty good as a sophomore. He gets hurt game 1, and then Keaton Slovis comes in, and it never happens for him again. Now, the craziest part of all this. All right. Okay. Which is the crazier quarterback transfer portal scenario? Zach Calzada had to miss spring practice at Auburn because he got hurt against Auburn while playing for Texas A&M. Or Keaton Slovis, who replaced JT Daniels as a starter at USC, will start against JT Daniels in the backyard brawl, Pitt, West Virginia.
Yeah, that one's beautiful. It's with Graham Harrell coaching for West Virginia in that game too.
Can you imagine? So 2019, USC opens against Fresno State. This is the game where JT Daniels gets hurt. Keaton Slovis comes in. Can you imagine walking up to those two in pregame warmups and going, "Hey guys, listen to this. In 2022,
do you like living in Southern California so far? Because I have a surprise for you.
Yeah, 2022, one of you is going to start for Pitt against the other one who's starting for West Virginia.
Pack your coats, buddies. It's going to be a different deal here in a few years. It's great, but I mean, wouldn't you say the same on Keaton Slovis? I mean, that's a guy that really was so impressive as a freshman. Has he been the same player for the last 2 years? I guess not.
No, Antonio Morales, our USCB writer, did a really good story on him going into last season.
Right.
Where Keaton Slovis was actually pretty open talking about how mentally the injuries affected him the previous season and how it was very hard for him to get back to normal and be confident and throw confidently because of the recovery. And, you know, it is when he was humming, he was really good when he was playing instinctively. And this is a guy who played for Kurt Warner in high school. Kurt Warner was his offensive coordinator in Phoenix.
That's right.
And so he understood offenses very well. He actually probably played in a simpler offense at USC than he played in high school. And he was so decisive with the ball. I think that's why he ended up winning and keeping that job. So to see him being less decisive, because he's not the most toolsy guy. Like JT Daniels probably has the better tools, but it's just like you saw with JT Daniels at Georgia. He has better tools than Stetson Bennett. Stetson Bennett's the guy who kept winning the job.
That's right. That's right. Yeah. You know, and that's what I think is overall interesting about this quarterback class, this transfer class. You know, Caleb Williams and Quinn Ewers are the exceptions to the rule, really. I mean, these guys those are unique circumstances in both cases. Mm-hmm. But everybody else, it's a guy that, for the most part, I mean, a guy that has maybe had some moments, but has also gone through some stuff, whether it's injuries, whether it's coaching changes, poor play, you know, whatever. And in a lot of cases, you're talking about guys moving on to a different school with a chip on their shoulder and a lot to prove, who, you know, are going to places that, you know, where they have a chance to, we're going to find out about their potential and can they put it all together, or, you know, not all these guys are going to win jobs, or not all these guys are going to hold on to jobs. I mean, that's just the way this is this year. I do wonder, by the way, the one guy that we kind of don't probably talk about enough, who might end up being as important as any of them on the list, Max Johnson doesn't get talked about a lot, but in terms of the playoff race, that's a guy that could make a big difference this year.
Yeah, whether he wins the job or not, because if Haynes King wins the job, well, Haynes King got hurt in game 2 last year.
Right.
If Haynes King gets hurt again and Max Johnson has to come in and be the guy, well, he's been the starting quarterback at an SEC school before. I mean, so he's at A&M now. He was at LSU last year. The last time we saw him throw a pass in a game was to beat Texas A&M.
Incredible.
Again, weird transfer portal. But yeah, so that race is interesting to me too, because I don't know what Haynes King can be as a starting quarterback. I know more about Max Johnson as a starting quarterback than I do about Haynes King, because he got hurt in game 2.
That's right. Yeah, and he threw some picks in the limited time we did see him last year. Incredible athlete, and that's everything. That's all you hear, and that's even the case after the foot injury. But yeah, Haynes King is got a real battle on his hands, and just like we talked about with some of these other situations, if bringing in a guy with real SEC experience, you know, helped apply even more pressure on Haynes King and brought out his best play and opened up this A&M offense, then great move to get Max Johnson and his brother Jake Johnson out of it. But you know, I think that's a guy that, like as you said, I mean, 2 games in, totally different situation for A&M last year. So there's very few schools here where you've got a real backup these days, and A&M's got 3 pretty good ones in their room.
Yeah, because Connor Wegman, the freshman, might have the higher ceiling of all of them, but he just got there. So I'm very interested to see what Jimbo Fisher does, because I still feel like if they get that right, they're potentially, I mean, not just, okay, you beat Alabama last year. It is, you actually can compete for everything.
Making a big right. run. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So that is the interesting one. When we come back though, Max, we're shifting gears. Maybe the best NIL ad ever came out on Tuesday or Monday. No, it was Monday. Maybe the best one yet. We'll play it for you when we come back. In a tiny apartment in Southern California, two college dropouts teamed up to create a watch company that broke all the rules. With fair prices, unexpected colors, and clean original designs, Movement grew into one of the fastest growing watch brands, shipping to over 160 countries worldwide. Now Movement has expanded into blue light glasses that protect your eyes from screens, minimalist jewelry, and more style essentials that don't break the bank. And they're all designed in Movement's California headquarters. I've got the Raptor watch in Dark Star, and it is beautiful. It's one of those things that people see and they go, oh, well, where'd you get that? Well, I got it from Movement, and I didn't pay a fortune. I also have a Movement card case that I turned into my cash carrying case because after the pandemic, I realized I'm not carrying cash anymore, and sometimes I need to. But I don't want to have the George Costanza wallet, so I get this nice, clean look, clean lines, and then when I need to know what time it is, the Raptor in Dark Star. And people go, ooh, I want one of those. And you say, if you want to elevate your look and style and don't break the bank, then join the Movement and get 15% off today with free shipping and free returns by going to mvmt.com/Andy. That's mvmt.com/Andy for 15% off today with free shipping and free returns. mvmt.com/Andy. A little sore today. A guy I know named Adrian Williams was putting me through something called Devil's Presses. You know what they are? Well, Adrian will show you if you're a member at Peloton, and you should be a member at Peloton. It's not just bikes and treads. It is a community of people who are there to help you reach your fitness goals. Adrian Williams, I had a run this morning with Andy Spear and another run with Marcel Dinkins. These people they seem to know what buttons to push with me. And it's fantastic because there are times when I would like to dog it, and I know they're not going to let me. And then let's say I'm running on the treadmill, I can look and see how many other people are sweating through the same thing with me. And it really helps me to keep pushing. So go to onepeloton.com. They've got deals on the bikes and the treads for first-time members. And find a way to get yourself into this community because you will feel better about yourself. You will look forward to working out, and you'll be able to work out anytime, anywhere with the motivation of world-class trainers and the knowledge that there are other folks doing the same thing you are, on the same journey you are, and you guys are going to make it, and you're all going to look better and feel better. So go to onepeloton.com and check it out. Those are my NIL ads, but I got nothing on our pal Decoldest Crawford, Max. And the biggest tragedy of all this is Decoldest Crawford, who is a freshman receiver at Nebraska, got injured over the weekend, and he's gonna be out a while.
Yeah, knee injury in fall camp for Decoldest Crawford, which is too bad because I think he would have had a shot to make some plays this year. But Buddy is doing all right. He got way more famous in the past week than he probably would have just from this season, I feel like.
Yeah, so Decoldest Crawford, I feel like people who listen to this show, it's a self-selecting sample.
Mm-hmm.
You follow college football psychotically. You follow recruiting. You've known the name Decoldest Crawford for at least 2 years. He was a wide receiver recruit out of Shreveport. He was committed to LSU, and then the coaching change happened. He decides to go to Nebraska. Well, he gets to Nebraska, and he gets perhaps the most perfect NIL deal of all time. Here's the commercial that dropped on Monday.
I'm so glad we called SOS. RAC is the coldest.
I'm always the coldest.
SOS to the rescue.
Hey, this is Decoldest Crawford, wide receiver from Louisiana, now playing in Lincoln. When your AC isn't the coldest, you call SOS Heating and Cooling. Their techs don't make commissions, so they give you an honest opinion, fair pricing, and longer warranties than the competition, guaranteed. Take it from the coldest. We will keep you cool this summer.
I feel very confident now that Decoldest has told me that I'm not going to get upsold by my technician.
This is really, like you said, a self-selecting audience. Really, we're hitting the Venn diagram here of our college football fans and our AC fans here. This is exciting.
We do love our HVAC companies. And how about that jingle? That's a great jingle too. Like, because a lot of times they're like, oh, well, we got the player. We don't need anything. No. There's some production value here. Like somebody went into a studio and recorded that jingle.
Oh, extremely well made. Love the VO by him as well. I think he did a great job on the whole thing. And man, it's just a great ad. Shout out to Decoldest Crawford and SOS, which you will remember just from watching the ad many times, as we all have. Now, Andy, I do have to come clean about something here.
All right. Is that your HVAC company?
No,
they're in Omaha.
I have
right?
not.
They're
I'm
not
in Lincoln.
right?
I have not found an HVAC.
Yeah.
I have not been recruited by an HVAC company yet so far in Lincoln.
Okay.
A few years ago, Decoldest Crawford committed to LSU, and I tweeted that his middle name was To Ever Do It because I saw that online. I said, true story. His full name is Decoldest To Ever Do It Crawford. And I was wrong about that. It's one of the few deleted tweets I've had in my career here.
Oh, you thought that was?
I thought that was real.
A joke.
I thought that was real.
My.
Yeah. And people who covered LSU recruiting DM me right away and said, "No, that's not true. That's not his middle name."
I mean,
so I have to come clean about
change
that.
it to that.
I've carried that guilt for quite a while. I know on this podcast we do like to throw things out that aren't totally true and just sort of keep rolling, but I carry some guilt on that, Andy. I do. And so I'm happy to see him thriving. And what are the chances that he comes to my alma mater ultimately?
I think he should probably change his middle name to that. If that
Why
would
not?
be the perfect.
That's another NIL deal he could do.
Just like I felt like Major Burns should change his name or change his position.
Sure.
Like, that's not a name for a DB, but Major Burns is a DB who plays at LSU. So
yeah, I Major Burns has got a lot of NIL potential. That was a small world that he would end up coming here to Nebraska, but Mickey Joseph pulled that one off in leaving LSU and coming to Nebraska. And it is a bummer we won't get to see Decoldest To Ever Do It play this fall.
So that's the best NIL ad so far.
For sure.
And I think, listen, raise your game, companies that are hiring athletes. Because
I feel like you'd be good at that job, Andy. Like, wouldn't that be fun to be the Don Draper of funny NIL ads?
I would have hooked Decoldest up with an HVAC company so fast.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it's just an HVAC company thing. Like, some of them have a very good sense of humor. Like, there's a company in South Florida, and the second you cross the Palm Beach County line on I-95, you start seeing their billboards, and they say, "Your wife is hot." Immediately, my eye is drawn.
Yes, it is.
Your wife is hot because your AC is broken.
You
need to call them to fix it.
There's just too many. Like, you remember, didn't Trevor Lawrence, when he went pro, didn't he get a Pantene deal?
He did.
Sometimes these are just out there, just common sense. Someone's just got to connect the dots here, but it's too easy.
Yeah. So there's a great one, and we would play it for you on the show, but we realized if you're watching on the YouTube stream, you'd be able to see the video, but most of you are listening in podcast form. So the narration of this ad is actually pretty dry. The video is hysterical. It is the second best NIL ad of the year. And so we mentioned Deuce Vaughn earlier in the show at Kansas State. Dynamic back, one of the best backs in the country. He's also, nicknamed Deuce. People call him Deuce. Cat Cans is a porta potty company in Manhattan, Kansas.
Sure is.
And they signed up Deuce Vaughn, the aforementioned Felix Anudike Uzama, and also Aaliyah Carter, who's the star of the Kansas State volleyball team, for an incredible ad. And the reason, like I said, we're not playing it is it's like 2 minutes long, and it is a very dry
talk about production value. I mean, they did it.
It's a very dry narration from the owner of the company, who sounds hysterical in person, but talking about how they sanitize the cans and how it's going to be perfect for you on your job site, and it'll come back clean every day and all that good stuff. What is going on in the video is unbelievable. It is Deuce Vaughn on a day, an average day in Manhattan, deciding he needs to drop a deuce. And he can't find a place where deuces are welcome, because the first porta potty he goes to is reserved for Felix, and it says no deuces allowed. And then you see Felix walk up to Deuce and be like, "No, dude, not happening." So then he goes running and finds another cat can And this is the cat can reserved for Aaliyah Carter, who's a 5'10" outside hitter, who also shakes her head as like, no deuces allowed. And so Deuce goes sprinting away again. And finally, a happy ending. He finds a cat can with a sign on it that says, Deuce is welcome, and presumably goes inside and does his business. Tremendous.
Sometimes when you're named Deuce and you wear number 22, it's just that easy.
It is. It is. And so that is a tremendous use of like,
and also
when I
not
watch-
taking yourself too seriously, you know?
Exactly. But when I watched that ad, when I watched the Decoldest ad, it just makes me mad that this was fought against for so long. It just seems idiotic.
Yes.
Like what were you trying to stop? You were trying to stop the same 4 schools from getting the best player? Oh wait, you never stopped that. You actually encouraged that with your rules. So none of this has ever worked.
You're saying that when these coaches get together and they vent about how unfair it is that Jordan Addison went from Pitt to USC, they should also talk about how sick these ads are, right?
They should absolutely. And maybe if Jordan Addison had a Primanti Brothers ad, he wouldn't have left.
That's right.
Who knows? Carter BC, by the way, asking, what is OU backup quarterback General Booty? Does he have an ad? What does he have to do to get an ad? I mean, General Booty definitely needs to get an ad. Like the General Auto
Booty
Insurance?
needs to do like a LeBron style The Decision where he announces which NIL deals he's going for.
Absolutely.
That guy's got to have some. He's got to have some pretty interesting stuff in front of him there.
One would hope. And
Yeah.
look, he comes from a famous football family.
Now, are
They
there
gotta have
rules
some
to that?
connection.
Like, can General Booty be sponsored by OnlyFans or anything like that? Like, there are rules of what they can't do?
I imagine you might have their own rules about this sort of thing,
Probably
but
so.
I don't think there's any rule against that in general. General Booty. I walked right into that
Come
one.
on, man.
Jeez. All right, we got another one though. There is one blast from the past. I rewatched this one when the Decoldest ad came out because I was trying to decide which I like better. Let's not forget Jared Casey. Do we remember who Jared Casey is?
Come on.
Walk-on fullback, the hero of the Texas game.
Hey, if we're going to talk about an Applebee's ad, it better be the Jared Casey Applebee's ad.
Exactly.
I'm not talking about the other one.
Yeah, we're not talking about the song. No, Jared Casey is a walk-on fullback at Kansas. He caught the game-winning 2-point conversion. If you remember, the video that his parents shot of the play went viral. Is that Jared? Which, by the way, how did he not get a Jared ad out of it? The jewelry company.
KU went to Jared.
He went to Jared.
Yeah,
that's right. They went to
Jalen
Jared
Daniels
and they
went
won.
to Jared. There you go.
If you go to Jared, you win. Oh,
I mean, come on,
Max. We're in the wrong business.
There should be. I'm telling you, you could be
You're
like
the Don
Blake
Draper.
Lawrence.
I'm your Peggy Olson. You're the Don Draper.
I'm telling you, you could be the Blake Lawrence of calling kids and telling them, "Hey, your name is funny. Here's what I think you should do."
Well,
but then tell them, "Hey, make it a 30-second ad. Look at Decoldest. You can get millions and millions of views on it. Let's do this the right way."
Exactly. So Jared Casey catches his 2-point conversion, and Applebee's immediately swoops in, and it was. I mean, this is 30 seconds of perfection right here.
Jared Casey, you just made one of the greatest game-winning catches in Kansas football history.
That was Jared, wasn't it? That was Jared.
Where are you going now?
Where am I going? I'm going to Applebee's. After I made the catch, life has been pretty great.
Here you go, Jared. Your 2 entrees and an appetizer from the Applebee's 2 for $22 menu.
Hey, you always got to go for 2.
The wink at the end is
Perfect.
spectacular. But Jared, first of all, Jared is Baker Mayfield level good at commercials.
Yes. And that's also the beauty of this sport, Andy, is like you can do that on Saturday night and then you're like filming a commercial on Monday or Tuesday on your off day.
Do you remember the Bob
Only world.
Stoops commercial for, I think it was a cell phone company?
Drawing a blank here.
So there was a commercial years ago. I wish I had downloaded this, but I just thought of this. So years ago, there was a commercial. Bob Stoops is the head coach at Oklahoma, has been for a while. And the storyline of the commercial is there's this high school player who makes this incredible play. I can't remember if he flips over a guy or
like
if he
AT&T one or something.
Yes, it's like AT&T.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
He either flips over a tackler or he leapfrogs a tackler and scores. And you hear the play-by-play guy of the game go, "Hello!" And then they keep showing highlights of this guy, and every time he does something great, they're like, "Hello!" And so at the end of the commercial, it's after the game, and the coach goes, "Hey, this guy wants to see you." And it's Bob Stoops walking up to the player going, "Hello." And apparently Bob Stoops filmed that take like 50 times and they used someone else saying hello, or they used a different Bob Stoops track of hello, because it looks like a badly lip-synced kung fu movie.
That's right.
Hello.
Okay, I remember this now. Yes. Fantastic. Well, it reminds me of hey, look, Mike Leach could take a Friday off during the season to be on Friday Night Lights, right? I mean, if these coaches can make the time, why can't the kid?
Yeah, giving Eric Taylor advice about how to swing his sword.
Swing his fine as inner pirate. That's right.
Yeah. Okay. You are the Don Draper of NIL. We've established this. I can only hope
this is a natural gift of yours. I think
I can only hope to be your Pete Campbell or Peggy Olson, but
no, I'll happily be I'll be the slattery to your Draper there.
Oh, listen, who wouldn't want to?
I'll be your drinking buddy.
That's exactly right. No, I want to be your Pete Campbell just so you can ask me how it's going. I can go, "Not great, Max." But yes, we got to come up with this. And that's, you can drop that in the chat. You can hit us up on Twitter. I'm at Andy_Staples. Max is at Max Olson.
All right, let me give you one. Okay. Let's put your skills to the test.
I told you you're the Don Draper.
Let's do this. No, I think you're more naturally gifted. What are you doing for Storm Duck?
Well, obviously a company that cleans storm drains.
Yeah,
for sure. So like your Roto-Rooter type company.
Yeah.
Because you've got the storm part of it, and also the like water off a duck's back. So cleaning your storm drains like water off a duck's back. I'm Storm Duck for Roto-Rooter.
Look at that. I put you on the spot. We didn't even plan this. You just came up with that. Too easy.
North Carolina. And just imagine if we'd had 7 martinis at lunch and then stayed at work until 2 a.m.
There you go. Hey, and by the way, Decoldest Crawford, like I don't know what the deal he did, but like, man, get just in case these things go viral, try and get a little piece. Don't just say, "Oh yeah, I'll do that for $100."
A little bit of the back end, absolutely,
100%.
Now the question is, does Decoldest get a little extra, like when they got to put a little more Freon in? Like every time they put a few pounds of Freon in, does Decoldest get like a nickel out of that? How's that work?
No, that's very back end. Yeah, that's a strong move on his part. But hey, I mean, did you think
SOS's texts don't work on commission though, Max? Decoldest told me that.
That's true. I take him at his word on that. But no, I mean, if they knew that this thing was going to get 5 million views, I think you'd structure the deal, with that possibility in mind.
Oh, absolutely. I mean,
and who can get you those deals? Andy Staples can.
That's exactly right. I mean, I already got some.
What about Bear Hunter? What do we got? Isn't that another one?
Bear Hunter is definitely advertising for Realtree. I mean, that's a brand. Well, he's going to have a Realtree contract and a Yeti contract. I
was going to say Yetis. I mean, that's a no-brainer.
This is Bear Hunter for Yeti. When I'm out hunting bears, my beers are kept cold by a Yeti. So I never have
whether
to hunt
you're
for
hunting,
beers,
you're being
I only hunt for bears
hunted.
because I'm Bear Hunter.
That's right. Whether you're hunting or being hunted, go with Yeti.
That's exactly right. When I'm in the bear stand, is there a bear stand when you hunt bear? There's a deer stand, duck blind, deer stand. I don't know what structure you're in when you're hunting bears, or if you're even allowed to hunt bears. But I mean, there has to be something there. Yeah.
And it makes you sad for the guys that missed out on this. I mean, what
Rider?
could Taco Charlton have done, back in the day in terms of picking out his exclusive local taco provider? I mean, big.
Oh, exactly. And I mean, Taco Charlton could have had the contract for the day of Tuesday. Like he could have had a different commercial drop every Tuesday.
That's right.
It's Taco Tuesday. I mean, I know LeBron invented that, but so
I think that's got.
Imagine what Johnny Manziel would have done. He would have been like Pete Rose, like taking every single thing.
Oh my gosh. Can you imagine how many commercials he would have done that offseason?
He never would have slept. It just would have been one commercial after another. We would have been oversaturated with Johnny football ads.
Oh, and if it were modern times, can you imagine how many autographed Johnny Manziel cards Ari would have at his house? Like in his collection?
Yes. He's like, they're going to the moon. Diamond hands.
I mean, I've seen how many Justin Fields cards he's sitting on. Like, can you imagine how many Johnny cards he would have?
All of them.
And then he gets to Cleveland? Are you kidding me?
Ari just would have set up a stand in Cleveland.
Yeah.
Trying to sell those on the secondary market. This is going to have to be a recurring theme on the show. Like we name players and then we match them with brands. We got to make this happen.
Can you do an episode where you line these guys up as guests and just do a full consulting episode? That'd be
yes. Like Storm, have you thought about Roto-Rooter? I like it.
Is there a local zoo if you don't want to go in the Storm direction? Can we go in the duck direction?
Or is there a local Chinese restaurant that serves a delicious duck?
The Storm Duck special. Yeah.
Look, a little table carved Peking duck. Nothing wrong with that.
Mm-hmm. I like that.
Oh, come on. This is listen, if you got a Chinese restaurant in Chapel Hill, let's go. Let's go. Get going on this. Max, it's been a pleasure. We do love our brands. We love our brands. And you know who we really love? We love Sling because they present the show. So thank you, Sling, for presenting the show. Stars Matter on Thursday. Ari and I'll be back on Friday. Probably going to lose you some money. Thank you, Sling. The show is brought to you by Sling TV, the TV you love for a price you'll love. Check out sling.com for special offers.